This is the Rebellion Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Staker. All right, this is it. Football season is here. I've been wanting to put out more football content, but I really wanted to wait to get all my notes put together, do some research, write some stuff down, organize things, figure out exactly what I want to talk about. Because a lot of times I just freeball this. I just start talking and you never know what's going to pop in my head. But this, for football, I wanted to actually put together something a little bit more worth listening to, right? Wow, I am so excited for football season. The Dan Mullen era, I'm so excited I can't talk. The Dan Mullen era is among us. We have our first game Saturday. Should be a blowout. Should get to relax that game, but, you never know. So, all right, I'm obviously very excited for football season, but I am a head case when it comes to sports and my teams that I really, really love and want to win badly. I become a head case. I don't know how to relax and stay calm. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those idiots that smashes my TV and screams and breaks things when things don't go my way watching a sporting event. It's more on the inside. Like I'm really hurting on the inside, or I'm really upset on the inside. I can't show it too much because I don't want to look like a dummy, and my wife doesn't appreciate it. But I've met other people that are like me before who get so nervous they can't even watch the game. I don't like that I'm that way. I want to love my team, root for my team, and be excited to watch every single second of that game, whether it's in person or I'm watching on TV. Obviously, I'm going to watch the whole thing if it's in person. But when it's on TV, it's, for some reason, I have such a difficult time watching it. There are times where the anxiety and the nervousness consume my brain so severely that I just have to get up and leave and go for a walk. Like I have to leave. I just can't handle it, right? And I'll only do this if I'm with really close friends and family, but I wouldn't do it if I was at a party or around a bunch of people that I don't know that well. I would just tough it out. But I remember the Syracuse game. I didn't go to it, and I was watching on TV, and it got so bad. I just left and went for a walk. I think I walked like 5 miles, seriously, and I kept checking the score. I would check and it would be good news, or I'd check and it'd be bad news. And then it was not good. Right. And then I get the update that we take a 7-point lead with, I don't know how much time was left, not a lot of time left. And then I'm just like freaking out. I'm so happy, jumping up and down like a weirdo. Some homeless guy's looking at me like, what's this guy doing? What is he on? And I was just like, I can't believe it. We're going to win this game. And then anyone who's listening to this probably is a Rebel football fan. They know what ended up happening. So when I refreshed the score and saw that they tied it, oh God, that sucked. Oh, that was such a crappy feeling. And then so I was depressed. And then I went home and watched overtime, and then went to bed sad that night. But life moves on. I'd say the bigger the game, the more nervous I get. For example, when we played at Boise in the Mountain West Conference Championship game, I felt almost ill all day leading up to that game because I was so nervous. Like I had this really uncomfortable feeling inside of me. And that is not good. I really need to work on that. I need to talk to a therapist about that. It should be the opposite. I should be so excited and giddy looking forward to that game. My wife would say, why are you sharing this with the world? I wanted this podcast to be as genuine as possible. I wanted to be my true self on here, even if it makes me look like a clown at times, which I have looked like a clown. Like when I predicted Deon Thomas Jr. was going to be the best player in the Mountain West. And then that was not the case. All right, so enough about me and being a weirdo. I am going to start releasing more football content. I have a good buddy he's been on a few episodes with me before, who is a football guru. He understands football at a very high level. more than I do. So he's going to be doing a lot of segments on UNLV football so that I can release more content. And because I wanted this to not just be basketball, but 80% of what I've released has been basketball. I also wanted to talk about other, the Aces and the Raiders, which it's kind of just turned into only UNLV, but that's okay. There's enough people talking about the pro sports teams. Maybe not the Aces, but okay. So first, thoughts on last season. Very, very exciting season. We had a team that was, for the most part, very consistent. So you were just confident going into pretty much every game. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I got very nervous. The better we were, the more games we won, it was like the more nervous I would get. It's weird. But the team was such a pleasure to watch. Having a team with good defense, I don't know, you almost like it more. As important as it is to have a good offense, there's something about a great defense just locking the opponent up, going against a team that averages 30, 40 a game and watching them just pissed off at each other and cussing each other out because they can't move the ball. It's exciting. And I didn't understand this until UNLV had a really good team with a really good defense, and I became a lot more locked into supporting UNLV football and watching every game. It wasn't until this that I actually appreciated good defense. Because I used to like my best friend's a diehard Chicago Bears fan, and the Bears for years would have a great defensive team and a trash offense. And so I've watched like 100 Bears games with him, and I'm at times I would get like falling asleep because the game would be 7-3 in the fourth quarter. He used to tell me, like, I think it's entertaining and exciting having an awesome defense. And I was kind of like, no, I'd rather see them put up points. I get it now, is what I'm trying to say. I get it. So the season ended on a very high note with that win over California. I was so happy, so happy. I wouldn't say we put a beat down on them, but we won fairly sort of easily, I would say. Like, it was close until we pulled away, and then I felt really confident, right? I shouldn't say we won easily, but I just felt confident is what I'm trying to say. Jackson Woodard, one of my favorite UNLV athletes of all time. Ricky White, I have a Ricky White jersey. I become such a big fan of him. I hope those guys can make some money in the NFL. It's going to be really hard for them to get a spot, though, on a roster. Man, I love those guys. I would give anything for them to have one more year. But I'm also really ecstatic about this new chapter of UNLV football. This coaching staff, these players, and I just think it's going to be amazing, okay? I don't have many more thoughts on last season other than we just can't get over the hump against Boise State. Boise is Boise. They have by far the best program in the Mountain West. This is their last year in the Mountain West. We have one more year, one more chance to beat them. I mean, yeah, we could play them in the future, but as far as being conference rivals, this is our last chance to beat them. Unfortunately, it's at Boise. Very hard to win there. Very hard. And they're probably just as talented as we are, but we have a better coaching staff. No doubt in my mind, we have a better coaching staff. I actually saw I think I was scrolling through Twitter or X, and someone ranked the top 30 coaches in college football. Some well-respected sports website company, whatever the name was, ranked the top 30 head coaches in college football. Dan Mullen was number 6. Mind-blowing. Even if he's not 6 and people think he's way too high, whatever, like, even if that's a little too over the top, fact that they believe our coach is the 6th best coach in college football, oh my God, I love it. I mean, he really in his career has dominated thus far. He had one not so good season at Florida and then was fired after it. And then he chooses UNLV. This is the greatest thing to happen to UNLV since Jerry Tarkanian. Jerry Tarkanian's still number 1. But Dan Mullen coming to UNLV is the greatest thing to happen to UNLV since Jerry Tarkanian. Okay, and I'm all for it. All right, enough of me rambling. Let's get on to how good will we be based off of the media's predictions. It's kind of all over the place. There are some people / websites hyping us up like we are a legit playoff contender. And then there's others that are saying we're going to take a step back. Okay. I'm admittedly and clearly biased. There's no denying that. However, what I feel like I'm seeing is the people that are putting in more time and effort to understand what each team has in their roster and what positions, their depth, all of that stuff, right? The more respectable resources, whether it's a website or a person, they seem to be higher on the Rebels versus others that I think are just looking at our team, looking at how many new players we have, and then they're just assuming we're not going to be as good as we were the previous year. And I disagree with it. But let's go ahead and talk about what I found. So first of all, I did a Google AI and asked if they thought or it thought that UNLV football is going to be good this year. And the response that AI gave me was, experts are divided on how good the UNLV Rebel football team will be in 2025. The Rebels have a new head coach, Dan Mullen, and lost many starters from their successful 2024 season. However, Mullen has brought in a strong transfer class, including several former highly rated recruits. Okay, so pretty much Google interpreted the same thing as me. There's mixed opinions, right? So Fox Sports, they had us ranked 72nd overall, which is lower than we were the previous year. Keep in mind, the previous year, it's based off the preseason ranking. So they're predicting we're going to be about the same or a little bit worse than what we were at the beginning of the season, which we obviously ended up being better than what we were projected to be, though we were supposed to be good, but we just surpassed it. Yahoo, they said UNLV won't be as good as last year, but we'll win 7 or 8 games. I don't see us winning 7 or 8. I think 9 at worst, but I'm going to get into that later. Okay, Sports Illustrated SI says we will win all the non-conference games, and they did not mention conference. So they're obviously pretty high on us if they think that we're going to win all the non-conference games when we have some really tough games. Okay, UCLA, obviously, Miami of Ohio is not going to be easy. Yeah, it's going to be pretty good indication that we're going to be just as good, if not better than last year, if we win all our non-conference games, okay? ESPN has a 75th overall with only a 2% chance to win 11 games. Shake my head emoji. Go ahead and insert that in there. 2% chance to win 11 games. I think we have a higher than 2% chance to go undefeated. I'm not saying we're going to go undefeated, but I think our chances are higher than 2%. They're only giving us a 2% chance to win 11 games. I think it's realistic to an extent that, let's say our only game we lose is at Boise, or the only game we lose is the home game to UCLA. So I think they're clueless, but we'll see what happens. College football news, CFN says we're going to win 9 games. Nice. And then I can't remember if it was the coaches poll or the media poll for the USA Today rankings. The official rankings, the one that matter the most because that's what everyone sees on TV, has UNLV receiving a decent amount of votes to be ranked. I don't remember the exact number, but we came in at number 35. 35 I'm happy about that. I think that's respectable. And it's funny, like my other really close friend is a super diehard Nebraska fan, and they were 34. I think they were 34, we were 35. Or we were 35, they were 36, something like that. So got a kick out of that. Okay, let's start talking about the projected starting lineup, the starting lineup on offense, as well as our starters on defense. And I'm going to just, these are just some predictions I'm making. I kind of base this off of where they transferred from, what they did at their previous school, their experience level, that sort of thing. I can't actually predict it based off of anything more. I can't go much more in depth than that, really. So, starting QB, I'm seeing a lot of mixed opinions on this. I just read an article the other day that predicts that Orji will be the starting quarterback. I've seen a lot of people also predict Anthony Colandrea will be the starting quarterback. I have my buddy who I talked about in the beginning of this episode. He did a in-depth breakdown of Anthony Colandrea and Orji and what his take is on both of them as a player, as a prospect, and what we can expect from them. I'm gonna let that clip play after I finish going over my projected starters on offense and defense. Okay, so QB, I have Anthony Colandrea, transfer from Virginia. He put up some pretty good numbers at Virginia. I feel like he should be ranked higher in the transfer rankings, though, there could be something going on there that I don't know about, that I'm not aware of yet, but I think the way his style, the way he plays paired up with Dan Mullen, I expect him to, let's just put it this way, I expect him to be a better starting quarterback than people think he will be, and I think he will be at least a little bit better than Haj Malik Williams was. And that's saying a lot, because I loved Haj Malik, but Haj Malik had weaknesses. Okay, starting at running back, Jaden Thomas, arguably the best player on this team. It was huge news when he decided to return. I love the guy for that. He's my new Ricky White in terms of my favorite player on the roster. The man, Jaden Thomas. At wide receiver, I predicted Jaden Bradley from Pittsburgh, transfer from Pittsburgh. And then wide receiver, Troy O'Meary, I think is how you pronounce it. He's a very talented player that started off his career at Texas, then transferred to ASU. He actually had like 2 catches for 40 yards, something like that, in their bowl game. So we're getting a really good talent there. And then for the other wide receiver, JoJo Earl. I think it's Earl. Probably not Early. I think it looks like Earl. The transfer from Alabama and TCU. He was the first wide receiver we brought in during the little recruiting window, transfer class window, whatever you call it. And he got me really hyped because this dude was insanely highly ranked out of high school. Evident by the fact that he chose Alabama. He was one of the highest ranked wide receivers in the entire country. He's very fast, very skilled. He's had a lot of catches in his career. Obviously his college career hasn't panned out thus far to what his ranking was and what was expected of him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be transferring to UNLV. But he still has a ton of experience, ton of talent. I'm really excited to have him to throw the ball to. Okay, he's going to have some monster games this year. Tight end, Varquise Gums. I talked about Varquise Gums on another podcast I did, or a podcast episode that I released back in December. And his whole story, how he was removed from the team from Arkansas, but based on my research, sounds like the Arkansas head coach is a monumental prick. So I don't fault him for that. And I also talked about my own personal experience playing D1 and how I actually left the team and how I could relate it. But this dude, I'm so excited for. I think he's underrated. He was a 4-star transfer after he left North Texas because he was like an All-American freshman at North Texas. Absolutely dominated there, put up monster numbers. And it didn't work out when he transferred to Arkansas. That's why he's not as highly touted as a transfer. But this dude is a beast. He's massive. He's jacked. He's Jack City. That just means muscular if for people that don't know. And he's very talented. So really excited to have him as a monstrous target for Colandrea or Orji. Okay, and for left tackle, I have James Faminu. Sorry guys, I wish I knew how to pronounce every name. I do, but all I am is reading their name everywhere. I don't ever hear it, so I can't really. I do my best, okay? At left guard, Malik McGowan, the transfer from North Carolina. I like him a lot. I've seen him in a lot of projected lineups as well. And then right guard, Donovan Manson from Coastal Carolina, another big-time transfer. Right tackle, Nick Scalise from UTEP. All right. It was hard to, I guess, go through the whole roster and pick one guy over another, but this is what I came up with. All right. Now let's do the defense. All right. Oh, I think I totally skipped over center Reed Williams from University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. So he was an All-American at the FCS level, similar to Haj Malik Williams. And I think he's going to be the starting center. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I listened to some interviews from him, and it just seems like an awesome dude, man. I'm so excited to have him, and it was a great pickup. Okay, defense. I'm going to go through the defense a little bit quicker for time's sake. Defensive end, Tunmis Adeli, he played at Texas A&M and Texas State. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, just an absolute beast. And then defensive tackle, Jalen Lee. He was a big-time recruit out of high school, 4 stars. He played at Florida and then LSU. I mean, just powerhouse programs. Guys that have experience, they playing there, getting coached there in their weight room, coming to UNLV to go against Mountain West competition. They're going to be just fine. Defensive tackle, Cohen Fuller from Coastal Carolina. Edge, Chief Borders. He played at Florida, Nebraska, and Pitt, and now UNLV. I always find it interesting when people play at like 4+ schools. I've seen players play as many at 5 schools, which is insane to me. So real quick on Chief Borders, I tweeted about him when we got him because my boy, who's a diehard Nebraska fan, who I just referenced a little bit ago, I texted him about him, and he said that he was really good and he was upset when he left. And so I was like, oh, awesome. That makes me really happy. Okay. So inside linebacker, Marcel McDuffie. Okay, this is arguably the best player on the team. He's the best player on the defense. This next to Jaden Thomas, this was absolutely massive news that he decided to stay. So he's my new Jackson Woodard on defense as far as like my guy, my favorite player, Marcel McDuffie. Outside linebacker, I went with Bryce Edmondson from Memphis. Free safety, Cody DeCambra. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school and went to Oregon. Another big-time talent. Safety, Jaheim Joseph from Northwestern and West Virginia. Cornerback, Denver Harris. He has experience at Texas A&M, LSU, and UT San Antonio. Another very, very experienced player. Another cornerback, LaTerrence Welsh, who played at LSU and Arizona State. 4 stars out of high school. So we have a lot of 4-star talents projected on our defense. And let me tell you why that matters, because I've heard a lot of people on the internet like scoff at that, like it doesn't matter. When you were highly rated out of high school, even if you didn't do well at the big school you committed to, which led to you transferring down a level, it still matters what you were ranked out of high school, because it means you have talent. You just haven't fulfilled that talent. You haven't reached it. Who knows what would have happened at the other school? Maybe you were competing against guys just as talented or more talented than you at that position, and you just didn't win the job. Okay? It matters because you have a higher ceiling. In most cases, sometimes players are just over-evaluated and that happens. But you have a higher ceiling than the players that were not ranked out of high school. Okay, you have more raw talent. So it does matter when you have a guy who was a 4-star recruit out of high school or 5 stars and didn't do so great at the big school they committed to and then transfer. Okay, I just wanted to put that out there because I've seen so many people act like who just make comments about like, who cares what they were ranked out of high school? He only ran for 18 yards in his sophomore season. You know what I mean? So you get the point. All right. Did I go over everyone? Last cornerback, Amaris Brown. He played at Kansas State and South Florida. Okay, so that's my projected starters now. Here is the analysis of our 2 quarterback transfers and what to expect from them.
What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about 2 recent transfers over to UNLV, one from Michigan, one from Virginia. One of them is Anthony Colandrea, the other one, Alex Orji. So first, we want to start off with Anthony Colandrea. So I took a look at his stats and some of his highlights, and this is what I personally took from it. I think he's a very elusive runner who's very patient to find the openings. Watching his eyes look around, look for the holes, and go into them. I mean, I know he's a quarterback, but it kind of reminds me of Le'Veon Bell's style of, getting the ball, being patient, waiting for your line to make the blocks, make the upfield blocks, and, he could fit in there. And also, I really liked his footwork. I thought he moved him perfectly. Every time he went to release, he put his feet in the right spots. He turned his hips perfectly. So I thought he had very good footwork. Also thought he was very good under pressure. He knew how to leave the pocket and how to get out. Now, with that being said, there was a couple things about that I didn't like. I would watch him, and it seemed like he very much stared down a target. Like he would, look at a receiver and not, scan the entire field, and very much predetermined where he was going to go. And that's going to happen a lot with these college guys, because a lot of these offenses are very system-based. And, I mean, we've seen it many times. A guy like Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss last year, his entire offense was, system-based around his strengths. And we always saw him stare down his receivers or immediately leave the pocket, which I also think this quarterback does, is he does leave the pocket almost immediately. He's not very patient when he's actually trying to pass the ball. Now, when he's trying to take off, he's incredibly patient, finding his holes, of getting to the right spots. But when he's trying to pass, he doesn't seem very patient, because he'll stare a guy down, and when it's not there, he'll immediately try to leave the pocket and make something happen. But with that being said, he is obviously incredibly mobile for how good of footwork he has, and overall, he is a pretty accurate quarterback. I do think he's, also very mobile, solid dual threat. And then he was also very accurate on the run, which a lot of quarterbacks lack. So it was, nice to see how many good throws he can make on the money every time he, be on the run. So overall, I think he's a very, very good dual threat quarterback. Definitely got to work on those turnovers. I think it was 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions or something like that. Definitely got to cut that back if he wants to be a starting quarterback. But also, he's a junior. He still has this coming up year and the next year if he chooses to play his senior year. So he still has, that time to progress and get better. And overall, though, I do think he could also work on that field vision. And this time he could be at UNLV, just seeing the entire field instead of just staring down one guy and delivering the throw. Or just, taking off, which he's done a lot. But I think if he could work on that, I very much see like a Russell Wilson in him. That was like what I got from it, of being very good on the run, outside the pocket, a very good improvising quarterback. Not the strongest arm, but pretty accurate. I think UNLV fans have a lot to be excited about with this guy. Now, the next quarterback that they brought in was Alex Orji. He was an interesting guy for me to watch. He's obviously very athletic, very fast, coming out of Michigan, where he transferred from. But the problem I had with him was, for one, he's a senior, and he does not have much playing time for being a senior. He really only came in for blowouts or when something happened. And that being said, when he did come in, wasn't very pass heavy. Mostly would be on design QB runs, bootleg, play actions. So it's tough to really evaluate a guy like that because of his inexperience so far. And he's a senior. So how much better can he get? I don't know. Very much reminding me of like a Jalen Milroe, who we saw out of Bama, get drafted out of Bama last year to the Seahawks. Just a phenomenal athlete. And but overall, that you have some questions with the passing game. We really have not seen Alex Orji pass a whole lot. And also coming out of Michigan, Michigan is a very heavy system of working to your strengths, and anytime you have a weakness, we're going to avoid that. We saw with J.J. McCarthy when they won the national championship. I know they had Harbaugh, so it's a bit different, but even then, when they had McCarthy, very heavy run offense, very heavy play action offense, was very much built around his strengths. And when I did see him throw, he had a very weird release. It was very slow. on the bootlegs and the play actions. He always got the ball like really high to the receiver, even though it was a shorter check down. But I mean, overall, he is just a pure athlete, which you can build around. We've seen many guys who were just coming out as pure athletes succeed and fail. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson, but also look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, what he's done so far in the NFL. You know, you can make it work, but they could heavily fail. It's a very high ceiling, but a very low floor. But I mean, I think overall, looking at both of these quarterbacks, I would be much more excited for Anthony Colandrea. It's a tough name to pronounce. Just due to he just has a lot more experience as the QB1, even though he is younger. And I just think he's overall a more talented passer than Orji. But obviously Orji is a much better athlete. You know, Orji has that it factor where he can break off a huge run for 40, 50 yards and he can really change a game. But I think if you want the safe option, I think Anthony should be the QB1 out of these two. And again, he's a junior, so he still has a lot of room to grow. Say this year he shows a lot of flashes, stays at UNLV. I think in his senior year, he could easily, you know, pop off for 30 touchdowns and under 10 interceptions. But I think overall, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about with both of them. It just depends what truly the direction the UNLV wants to go. They want a guy who is going to deliver the right passes, who can just make a lot more plays with his arm. I think you go Anthony. I think if you want a guy who's very quick, you know, you want to run heavy offense, a lot of play action, a lot of bootlegs, I think you go Orji here. But me personally, I would go Anthony. I think he's a very, very solid quarterback. But that's my opinion on watching both their highlights, looking at some of their stats is, you know, I think Anthony is the better quarterback.
All right, now we're going to get into some predictions. I have my co-host Laura here today. She's going to do this with me. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about this team. I think we have one of the best coaching staffs, not only in the Mountain West, but in the country. I know some people are very high on the Rebels and see us as a legitimate playoff contender, whereas others kind of don't seeing us be as good as last year, right? We have a lot of roster overhaul, a lot of new players. And typically with that, there's it takes a year or two to adjust, right? But I think with this coaching staff and all the talent we brought in, I think we're going to adjust perfectly fine. So, okay, Laura, what were your thoughts on last season?
I think they did a very nice job last season. I mean, obviously, I think the majority of the fans were quite disappointed on how we ended the season. I thought it would have been a much closer game with Boise State, but they dominated us, let's be real. So that was a little bit of a disappointment, but overall happy with their season.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't complain too much the season as a whole, especially based off of, how we were projected going into the season and how we finished. We were supposed to be good, but we actually surpassed expectations. And then winning that bowl game against California was awesome, right? So how we're going to do this is just going to go through each game and then predict whether we're going to win or lose it. Pretty simple, right?
Yep.
So, okay, Idaho State, they were picked 7th in the Big Sky. This game is not expected to be close. They're not even one of the better teams in a FCS conference. This team was actually added to the schedule late. I'm actually going to predict this game is over by late first, early second quarter. So I'm thinking we're going to win that game by about 40 to 50 points, honestly. What do you think, Laura?
Really? I kind of want to see their dynamics and how they come together since there are quite a few new players, but I definitely think it's a win. I just don't know by how much.
Yeah, I expect that game to be in
learning experience, huh?
Yeah, there's gonna be some adjustments. It's our first game, but we're gonna have such a talent advantage that I think we're gonna figure it out, and then we're gonna pull away and win handily. All right, next we have a really tough one at Sam Houston. Sam Houston was picked. Well, I read middle in the Southland. I think you read second. So I don't know. Sam Houston is going to be a really tough game. They historically have a pretty good program overall. I'm going to pick the Rebels to win this game, but it's going to be very close. I think we're going to win maybe like 20-17 game like that. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think it's going to be definitely a tougher game than Idaho State. They're away as well, so that always makes a big difference, not playing on your home field. So agree. I think it'll be close, but they'll take the win.
Yeah, so 2-0 at this point, right? So now here's the big one. UCLA, they're picked. They were 3-6 last year in conference, and they're projected this year to be around 13th, 14th out of the 18 total teams in the Big Ten. It doesn't matter if they're picked towards the end. They're still UCLA. It's still a Big Ten Okay, they have a very, very talented roster. They're led by Nico. I still don't know how to say this guy's name. Iamalava, where I don't know if you remember, he was the guy who transferred from Tennessee, and then there was that whole ordeal with NIL. And this is the new world we're in with NIL, right? Like money rules over everything. Players are more narcissistic than ever. They're demanding more money even when they're not worth it. So that whole ordeal was just, it was just a testament to what has happened to college football. And he ended up not getting the money he wanted or anywhere close to it. And now he's at UCLA. So it's going to be pretty interesting to face off against him and the Bruins. This is a really tough one. Whenever I was looking at Rebel fans and their predictions and who they think we're going to beat, who they think they're going to lose, most fans look like they put a check mark next to UCLA as one of those games that we're going to lose. I'm going to go ahead and pick them as a loss because we're not going to go undefeated, so I have to pick some games to lose, right? And it's our third game playing with a bunch of new players against a very talented UCLA team. I think it's going to be a real close game, but I'm going to pick us to lose that one. What do you think, Laura?
I agree. I think, just here in UCLA, you think of a big school, a powerhouse. I think they're going to lose it, but I think they're going to lose by a little bit more than you think. For some reason, I just don't think it's going to be as close as we're kind of predicting, but who knows? Let's see.
That could definitely happen. I'm hoping for the best, right?
Agree.
Okay, so we're at 2-1 right now. At Miami of Ohio, this is another really tough one. This is a tough stretch with Sam Houston, UCLA, Miami of Ohio. We're really going to find out how good the Rebels are in this 3-game stretch. So Miami of Ohio is picked to finish first in the MAC conference, which, that's not the best conference, but they're picked to finish first for a reason. They're a good team. And DeQuan Finn is expected to be their starting quarterback. He is a Baylor transfer. He's a really good player. So I am actually going to pick us to lose that one. I think we're going to drop back-to-back games, which we're not used to that. I don't think we lost back-to-back games until since 2 seasons ago when we lost to San Jose State and then we lost to Boise in the championship game. But I'm going to say we're going to lose that one maybe like 28-25, something like that. What do you think, Laura?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a close one as well. I agree. I think they're just good teams. So I think they're going to, they might lose it, but as some telling me they might win it. I don't know. It's going back and forth they are going to win either between UCLA or Miami. I guess now I'm going to go back because we're at home with UCLA. So I'm really hoping they pull through with that one. But, it's going to be really hard in Miami. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. We're going to win one of those 2 games, in my opinion. So, although I did just pick us to lose both those games.
And I think
it's a long night.
I don't know.
Let's just say this. We're going to just say we're at 2-1, 3-1 or 2-2 at this point.
Yes.
I'll pick a total win count at the end of this. We're all over the place. All right, Wyoming, I think you agree with me. That's going to be an easy win. They're not very good, and we're at home. I think we're going to put a beat down on them. I'm going to say 36-10.
Okay. I like that.
All right, and Air Force, same thing. The Air Force has a really good program. What are they picked? About middle of the pack in the Mountain West, they're picked. They're usually pretty solid every year. We have too much speed for them, and then we have a lot more size than we've had in the years past where they used to pound on us. So I'm going to pick us to win that game. Not a blowout, but we're going to win. I'm going to say 31-21. How about you, Laura?
Oh, I think it's going to go more than just 10 points. I'll say a win, but more than 10.
Yeah. Okay. How about the big one? Let's talk about the monkey we can't get off our back, Boise State. And I act like, we've been this rivalry for all these years. It's not the case. We've only been good for 2 years.
Well, listen, I despise UNR, right? But I just despise Boise State more, so.
Yeah, I really hate both of them. I really do. For Boise, it's jealousy. For Reno, they're just annoying. But as much as it hurts to say, I'm going to pick us to lose this game. They're a very good team with a very experienced quarterback, very well coached, and they're at home on their stupid blue field. So I'm going to pick us to lose that game. We are not going to get our butts kicked, though, like we did last year. We're not going to get our butts kicked. We're going to lose a hard-fought battle. I'm going to say 23-20. Okay, how do you think that game's going to go, Laura?
I agree. I think we're going to, unfortunately, lose it. I just really hope that they come out and they make it a good game because they're either hot or they're cold, and I'm really hoping they're a little bit more hot where they keep it close and exciting and not just the blowout like in the championship there.
Yeah, exactly. And So they did lose Ashton Genty, who, they had arguably the best player in all college football, and he's gone. Okay, so that's going to raise some question marks. Yep. Who are they going to have running the ball? I know they have a few good options. And then, like I mentioned before, Maddox Madsen, he's back as their leader quarterback. And so here's the thing. He likes to run the ball, and they don't have a lot of QB depth. I would consider that one of their weaknesses. So that's a cause for concern. If he gets hurt, who are they going to go to, right? So nonetheless, though, I am expecting Boise to pull out that game against us. All right. Finishing out the rest of the season, we have New Mexico. They lost their star quarterback to the transfer portal. Again, that's the world we live in. Money rules all, and they lost their quarterback because of it. We're going to beat them handily.
I agree.
Not just because they're not that good, but also we are at home. This is going to be a rout, Laura. I'm going to go 56-14.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I think it's going to be a blowout for us against New Mexico.
Okay, and I would say this is our last really tough game on the schedule where we play at Colorado State. Colorado State, they're going to be somewhere in the upper half of the conference. I'm projecting anywhere third or fourth place. They have some really good talent on the team. Okay, Braden Fowler, he is a veteran quarterback. He's a good player. And they also have Torrey Horton, who's an NFL prospect. Like, he's a elite type of pro prospect. So they're going to give us fits. I do think we're going to win that game, though. Okay, I think by then we're going to be cooking, right? We're going to get better and better as the season goes on. We have one of the best coaches in college football. We're going to beat Colorado State in a hard-fought 31-27 game, Laura.
I'm going to have to go against it just because I'm all about the atmosphere and where you're playing, and they're in Colorado, and they just have they come out with such support. So I think they're going to do a close game, but I think they might lose it. They'll reverse.
Yeah,
close loss.
Yeah, to your point, they do have a pretty good fan support there. It's a hard place to win, especially with that atmosphere. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if we dropped that game. All right, the last two games, we can go through these ones a little bit quicker. Utah State, they're picked to be towards the bottom of the conference. They're not really returning anyone that scares me too much. We had one of the biggest blowout first half performances I'd ever seen the Rebels have against them last year. I don't know if you remember, but we watched that game at the bar with some friends at Utah State. And the second half didn't go well, but we blew them out so bad in the first half it didn't matter. We're going to blow them out again. I'm going to say we're going to win. Let's go 33-17. That's not really a blowout, kind of, but let's go 40-17. I'm going to change that to 40-17. What do you think? How do you think that game's going to go?
I agree. I think it's going to be similar to like New Mexico, where we take the lead early and we keep the lead and we blow them out. Sure.
Yep. All right. Hawaii. So Hawaii, they travel very, very well to Vegas. Vegas is a ninth island. Is that what they call us? So they have a big fan support. Their team is expected to be not very good. I think they're picked. Let's look at the projections. They were picked. Wait, where are they at? Oh, they're like in the middle. Okay. Yeah. So they're right in the middle of the pack in the Mountain West. They're going to travel well. I think it's going to be close in the first half, and then we're going to pull away. It's going to be a high-scoring game. This game's going to be high-scoring. I'm going to say 55. Let's go 55-41, I think is going to be the final. What do you think?
I think they'll keep it close. I think Hawaii always comes out hungry, and I'm hoping UNLV doesn't come off from a big win and then just kind of goes in it kind of lazy and whatnot. And so, I don't know. Hawaii games are always very close and exciting. So I'm going to say we're going to win, but it's going to be a close game.
All right. Last but certainly least, UNR. Our little brothers up north. They're the worst team in the conference, and we are going to prove it. We're going to destroy them like we did the last 2 years. We've really handled them the last several years. Oh, yes. I think they've won. I think they beat us maybe once in the last 7 or 8 years, something like that. I have to look that up, but we're going to win this game handily, no doubt. I'm going to go 63-13. What do you think?
I agree. I think we're just going to touch up that cannon with some red, but it's definitely going to stay red.
Absolutely. All right, so looking at the schedule as a whole, I know we were kind of all over the place with our predictions. I'm going to say we are going to win 9 games. We're going to go 9-4. Okay, and then whoever we get in the bowl game, we're going to win that game. Well, the question, I guess, is, are we going to be in the Mountain West Championship game? I'm going to say yes.
I agree. I think it'll be a repeat of Boise State and UNLV.
Yeah, we're going to play Boise State, probably at Boise again, especially if I'm correct with my 9-win total. But you never know. You never know. So we're gonna play Boise. We're going to lose to them in the championship game. We're going to be 9-5, and then we're going to play somewhat in a bowl game and hopefully get that W and finish off the season with a 10-5 record. But that's all I got for today, and we'll see you next time, Rebel fans.
Bye.